right, our big story on India Sense this Friday. Winds of change are now blowing in the India-China relationship. There's now a thaw that has taken place in the New Delhi-Beijing relationship. After 17 rounds of working mechanism meetings, 21 rounds of core commander level meetings, 18 months of China not having an ambassador in India, and well over 4 years since the 15th June 2020 Galwan clash. The Asian giants have agreed to disengage on the border. The announcement came a day before the Kazan heads of state BRICS summit that paved the way for the first bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in 5 years. Listening to Prime Minister Modi, we come back and talk more of this.
सीमा पार पिछले 4 वर्षों में उत्पन्न हुए मुद्दों पर बनी सहमति का हम स्वागत करते हैं। सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए।
All right, before we explore the changing geopolitical winds that have had a role in the recent thaw, including New Delhi's elevated status in the world order, let's really find out the on-ground implications of this agreement. Now, firstly, it has made de-escalation possible, facilitating Indian troops to resume patrolling up to their old points in Depsang and Demchok, the 2020 status. It also provides for stabilization, potentially reducing confrontations at the friction point along the LAC, and most importantly, it's really a measure that opens window for further dialogue on a whole host of bilateral fronts. But New Delhi has been cautious, and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman made a statement, and that highlights how New Delhi is taking this a step at a time. After the Galwan clash, New Delhi made clear it was ready to play hardball. It was the first deadly confrontation since 1975 and resulted in casualties on both sides. Now, what India did, it restricted investments from China, severed direct flights, banned dozens of Chinese apps, TikTok and others, and that figure actually went up to 321 by the end of in New Delhi's measures. And those restrictions remain. Beijing is definitely looking to resume direct flights and flow of Chinese investments in India, but some of those economic restrictions remain. Of course, Xi Jinping knows very well that the Chinese economy needs the Indian market, and that's because much has changed in the world order since 2020 when COVID pandemic came and the Galwan clash actually took place. Beijing now needs that growth boost to fix its dwindling economy. China is also facing increasing Western pressure along its multiple frontiers, whether it's the Taiwan Strait, the South China Sea, Western sanctions on Chinese firms as well as individuals, all playing into the Chinese statecraft and leading into what we are seeing. The recent trends in the upcoming elections in the US have also been extremely worrying for Beijing, and they should be so, because a Donald Trump victory would in fact most certainly guarantee more strained relations with Washington, another round of tariff war, and China doesn't need another frontier. If Donald Trump is in Washington, then it needs to close that frontier when it comes to New Delhi. But that's not it all. In fact, China knows New Delhi now sits on the global high table. India's nuanced position, whether in regard to the Russia-Ukraine conflict or the Israel-Hamas war, is testimony to India's elevated status. And New Delhi continues to maintain cordial relations with the West. It has time and again rallied for its partners, whether in the East or the global South. But geopolitics aside, the agreement also comes despite India's growing ties with Taiwan when it comes to the semiconductor ecosystem, something that India is very clear about, and that sits at geotechnological game plan for India going forward. And it's interesting to note that these winds of change are not sudden, but set in motion ahead of Prime Minister Modi's third term. China appointed its new ambassador to India on the 10th of May. The appointment also ended 18 months of vacuum between the two countries. In fact, the longest vacancy since 1976. And May 10th's surprise appointment was followed with a rather clear message by the Chinese military spokesperson on the 12th of June, 3 days after Prime Minister Modi took oath. The update shared on social media platform X advocated for relevant border issues being handled properly. It underlined Beijing's intent to do so because of the changed environment it now sits in. But while the New Deal does not mean an end to all border disputes that New Delhi and Beijing have, they've been having on multiple fronts, but what it does allow is focus on several other bilateral aspects, which was missing till now. And maybe she is also looking to garner some good karma, for all you know. After all, in 1950, Mao had reminded the Indian ambassador of a popular saying that Chinese who do good in their lifetime would probably get reincarnated in India in their next life.